When Rocky collapsed in the corner. Proceeded to lie on the table. He said, Rocky, you met your match. And Rocky said, Doc, it's only a scratch. And I'll be better, Doc, as soon as I am able. And now Rocky Raccoon, he fell back in his room, only to find Gideon Five-O. And he left it, no doubt, to help with good Rocky's revival. Oh, yeah, yeah. Come on, Rocky boy. Come on, Rocky boy.
Her name was McGill. She called herself Lil, but everyone knew her as Nancy. Beatles on Sgt. Pepper's radio program. It will get heavier. I'm so tired. Blackbird, Piggies, and Rocky Raccoon.
Rendezvous. An appointment or engagement made between two or more persons to meet at a fixed place and time. This side of home, there's no better place for a rendezvous than the lush, lovely, and light-hearted land of Aloha. Chances are an R&R rendezvous in Hawaii is less expensive than you might think. Your wife, mother, and father, or both can fly to the islands on one of the daily jet clipper flights at a greatly reduced fare. Once the gang's all gathered for the week of fun, start checking out all the discounts. Local merchants offer discounts from 10 to 50% to island visitors. Get all the information on a rendezvous in Hawaii. See your R&R officer.
Feel so lonely. Yes, I'm gonna die. Sgt. Pepper's Reach Out radio program, reaching out, but what I'm reaching out for seems to find out it's only the bottom all over. Helter Skelter, Revolution Never Dies. Until next Sunday night at 8:05, Sgt. Pepper says good night.
American Forces Vietnam Network. This is Channel 54, Saigon.
AFVN.
There is no substitute for security. If you have access to classified material, keep it to yourself. Don't discuss your job in the club or around the barracks. You never know who Charlie is or when he may be listening, and that bit of inside information that you slip your buddy may just be the key that the bad guys have been looking for. Your life depends upon total security. Do your part.
At the automatic tone, 2100.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Army Specialist Bob Lawrence with 5 minutes of news compiled from commercial and military news agency. The chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, Mendel Rivers, said today the war in Vietnam could be ended within 4 weeks if it were left in the hands of the military. He warned the American public will not tolerate much longer.
The small squadron moved swiftly through the early morning air. The mission on their calendar that freezing morning was one that could not be postponed. Now they were flying over the city that was their destination. Still, they had not been heard. The city itself lay quiet, completely unaware that anything unusual was afoot. Then suddenly, in one explosive moment, it awoke to find itself the center of attention throughout the world. For from above, the small squadron had dropped a package that was more potent than dynamite. This was something that all humanity could share. For the first time in recorded history, 5 of the great winged birds had made direct hits.
And here's a flash of another streak of lightning, and this time it's in front of Mitzi Green of Passport to Romance. And Mitzi, what's your answer?
Oh, can I say it was the birth of the Dion quintuplet?
Well, you'd say the right thing, and you've won our first pick of the fast race. Mitzi Green, you just got a lot of mileage out of 5 gals. Trick of the Flash has been recalling that exciting moment when people all over the world sat up and took notice of the birth of the Dion quintuplet. And, of course, it was in Callander, Ontario, that the twins were born. Well, Mitzi Green, you seem to know a great deal about these 5 little girls. Excuse me, would you like to have 5 daughters, Mitzi?
All at one time?
Well, Mitzi, they do say that Mrs. Dion's achievement was quite remarkable.
Well, I guess it's all depends on how you look at it, Ken. I know that when I was just a little kid in vaudeville, I thought nothing of doing 4 a day.
Well, Mitzi, now that you've grown up, you're still one of our favorites. So it was you who acted Trick to the Flash. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid that's all the races we'll have time for, but we've lots more in store for you every Sunday afternoon at 5:30 Eastern Daylight Saving Time. Until then, this is Ken Roberts reminding you that it always pays to be quick as a flash.
Probably the most remembered of all quiz programs was heard on Sunday evening. If you've ever heard the slogan, "You will be sorry," or "That's the $64 question," it originated on Take It or Leave It. When the program went on the air in 1943, no one knew that it would make radio history. But it became the first quiz show to enjoy the distinction of making the top 20 in the Hooper ratings. And the MC was the well-known performer, Phil Baker.
Phil Baker, ladies and gentlemen, following through with Take It or Leave It. And here's our next contestant coming up to the microphone. Coming up is right. Who is Seaman Milton Slater of the United States Maritime Service. Hello, sailor. Glad to have you with us.
Thanks.
Welcome to Take It or Leave It. Seaman Slater, tell me, are you married?
Couldn't catch me yet. No one can catch me.
No one caught you yet, eh?
No, sir.
Sailor, you're just asking for it. Tell me, how do you like the Merchant Marine?
I like it okay.
All during the war, I saw sailors come into New York with big, bushy beards. Did you raise a beard?
Well, once I let my beard grow for about 6 weeks.
6 weeks? Was it becoming?
Well, it was always becoming, but it never became.
Never became. You mean it was nothing to make a fuss about, eh? You'll be sorry. Well, Sailor, if you win the $64 tonight, what are you going to do with the money?
What do I do with the money? Well, I'm going to go see the art museum.
Art museum. Yeah, let's see. A little closer, please.
Yeah.
What else are you going to do?
Well, I'm going to take a bus ride.
A bus ride, yeah. That's nice. And then?
Well, I want to go up and see the botanical garden.
Botanical garden. Oh, you're going to have fun, brother. And then what are you going to do?
Oh, I might visit Grant's tomb.
Grant's tomb. Look, son, the museums and Grant's tomb and all that stuff is okay, but what about the girl?
Not for me.
You mean to tell me you don't want to get married?
Oh, I just got out of one wall. Why should I get in another one?
Okay, woman hater, what category have you selected to discuss with me?
Number 13.
Okay, we have it here. Number 13. Oh, that's about... maybe you better pick another one. The category you selected is about love.
Well, that's okay. I'll try.
But I thought you were the guy who didn't know anything about love.
Well, I go to the movies.
Yes. You mean you learn about love watching the movie stars on the screen?
A little bit. But I learn more watching the couples in the balcony.
Oh, you do. Okay, Sailor, let's get on with Take It or Leave It. All these questions are about love and lovers. Here we go for $1. What are the primary cardiographic reactions to the vascular motor system of a young sailor resulting from osculation with an attractive female? That's fine. You have a butt. Would you like to try the two? All right, here we go for $2. Who is the most romantic character in fiction? I'll accept any name but yours.
I guess that's Romeo.
Romeo is correct. You get $1, sir. You get $2. Okay? Shall we go on?
Well, no use stopping here.
Okay, Stella, for $4. What great lover besides Jimmy Durante was blessed with a big schnozola?
What's that,
Huh? No help. What?
Cyrano.
Cyrano de Bergerac. Absolutely correct. All right, you can take it and quit or go on for 8. What do you say?
Well, keep going.
All right, here we go for 8. What man was so bashful he had to ask his best friend to propose for him? Come on, speak for yourself, John Slater.
Oh, Captain Miles Standard.
Captain Miles Standard, yes, sirree. That is correct. You have $16 coming. Would you like to try for 16 rather? You have 8 coming.
Well, sure. Might as well.
Okay, here we go.
Came in with nothing, I'll go out with nothing.
Came in with nothing, you go out with nothing? Okay, here we go for nothing. Here we go for $16. What king gave up his throne to marry the woman he loved?
Oh, the Duke of Windsor.
The Duke of Windsor, yes, sirree. No help, please. All right, okay, Stella, you have $16 to spend at Grand Tomb. You're going to have a good time, bud. Shall we go on for 32? Want to try for 32? What do you think you ought to do? All right, here we go for $32. What people in the world express affection by rubbing noses instead of kissing?
Why, I think that's the Eskimos.
Who told you?
I met one in Iceland.
You met one in Iceland? All right, take the icicles off your nose and we'll try for $64. What do you say?
Well, I've gone this far. I'll take a crack at it.
Okay, for $64. And, Sailor, if you win the 64, I'll get you a blonde to go with it. Here we go. You've heard that lovebirds coo at each other. But what does the love call of a wolf sound like? You get $64.
Dramatic programs reflected the time, such as the FBI in Peace and War.
Another great story based on Frederick L. Collins' copyrighted book, The FBI in Peace and War. Drama, thrills, action. Tonight's story, The Traveling Man. To the director, FBI, Washington, Confidential. Stolen Buick sedan, motor number 126027, recovered on used car lot, Miami, Florida.
Vehicle originally registered in New York City, third recovered to date, confirming theory, New York to Miami theft ring. We'll continue tracing this vehicle and others with Agent Shepard. Sign it Reynolds through Miami field office.
Radio detectives became sharper and brighter, and they all had an expense account. Even Johnny Dollar would list every last nickel he spent.
Expense account item 4, 5 cents, phone call.
Police headquarters.
Give me missing persons.
Any particular one?
Don't be a wise guy. Lieutenant Fisher.
Oh, yes, sir. Lieutenant Fisher.
Oh, Fisher, this is Johnny Dollar.
Well, hello, Dollar. What did you lose?
Practically everybody. Let's start with a girl. Be it or a butt.
You mean you lost your girl? Why didn't you call Dorothy Dick?
Don't waste time being clever. Just check your reports, will you?
Hold on. Buddington, Bumpus, Byers. Nope, nothing on her, Dollar.
Okay, well, try this one. Brooks, Milford III.
Bullseye. Brooks, Milford III. He hasn't been reported missing, and we haven't found him yet. But, we think we know where he is.
Oh, this kind of a question I always hate to ask. Where?
The Hudson River. At 11:15 tonight, his top coat, complete with identification, was found taking a ride on the 125th Street ferry.
Anything else?
Nothing much. Package of matches was found under the coat, monogrammed. You don't happen to know anybody whose initials are HH, do you?
HH? Well, it's always Horace Height. Thanks, Fisher. I'll check back with you later.
I'll be here.
Bill Foreman, as the Whistler, enjoyed great popularity during the golden days of radio.
I am the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales, hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
Yes, it's the first in a new series of strange tales by The Whistler. Long the West's most popular mystery and the CBS favorite of last summer, The Whistler now brings his unusual stories of conflict and emotion to coast-to-coast audiences each Wednesday evening at this same time. Tonight, The Whistler's story, A Woman's Privilege.
In the drawing room of a palatial home in Newport hang a pair of priceless oil paintings, one of an Italian nobleman, the other his wife. The surfaces are cracked, the frames old and worm-eaten, but the colors are as fresh and brilliant as if they were painted yesterday. There's a strange connection between the paintings and a sordid, ugly scene in the New York police station not far from the East River. It was very late, and in the next room, a homicide lieutenant was grilling a suspect. The charge was murder.
And one of my favorite programs was The Tracer of Lost Persons, Mr. Keene.
It's time now for Mr. Keene, Tracer of Lost Persons.
Miss Carson, my name is Keene, and this is my partner, Mike Clancy. We're investigating the murder of Donald Travers, your niece's husband. We were asked to take the case by Jane Travers, your niece. And may we come in?
Presenting Mr. Keene, Tracer of Lost Persons, in our new Mr. Keene series, in which the kindly old investigator brings to us his most celebrated cases on Mondays through Fridays at this same time. Tonight, the Shrieking Prisoner murder case. The scene opens at night in a large old-fashioned house in a lonely section of New York City.
A young man has just entered the darkened interior, and as he moves across the room, he hears a sudden, blood-curdling shriek of frustration and anguish coming from another part of the house. The young man stands frozen for a moment. Then as he quickly moves to a door and opens it, a shot rings out. A moment later, a murderer peers down with grim satisfaction at the figure on the floor. The lifeless body of a young man with a bullet through his heart. And now, Mr. Keene, the famous investigator, and his partner, Mike Clancy, are looking into the murder. The scene of the crime is a home owned by two weird sisters, Martha and Amy Carson. And the murdered man is their niece's young husband. Why has he been murdered? Mr. Keene is first attempting to find the source of the frightful shrieking which has been heard in the house. But he and Mike are being blocked by Martha Carson and Luther Prague, her burly handyman, who has entered the room with an axe in his hand. As Mr. Keene says,
Martha Carson, I'm here with my partner, Mike Clancy, to investigate the murder of young Donald Travers. I suggest you tell your handyman to let us go upstairs. If you try to prevent it, you'll only put yourself further under suspicion for the murder that occurred in this house last night.
Around 1955, Milt Larson and I had a radio program on which we did parodies of other shows. It didn't last long, and we both went on to other things. Milt opened the famous Magic Castle, a popular private club in Hollywood, and I spent a couple of years inventing the game Pass-Out. Actually, the inventing wasn't so difficult, but the research kept me dizzy for months. Anyway, on one of our programs, we did a spoof of the Mr. Keene program, and it went something like this. It's time now for Mr. Lost, tracer of keen persons. As our story opens, we find Mr. Lost and his partner, Mike Clancy, in Mr. Lost's study. Mike speaks.
Well, boss, Mr. Lost, tracer of keen persons, we certainly took care of those hoodlums. Tom Hago, the leader of the gang, and his henchmen Edward Metcalf, Rudy Norris, Rex Sims, Jack Freed, Joe Creda, Charles Grove, Ralph Marvin, Paul Antonio, and William Carlin.
Good night, my partner. Don't forget Harry Klein, beloved friend of Tom Hago, as the leader of the gang.
Right, boss. But how about the murdered girl, Mary Hepperman, and her mother, Alice Wilson, and her father, Alfred Hicks?
I'm sure they'll get along all right. After Mary Hepperman's funeral of the murdered girl, Alfred Hicks and Alice Wilson, her mother and father, went to live with Fred and Barbara Tad, their friends that lived just 2½ blocks down the street.
And is it true, boss, that Stan Lee, the paper boy who found Mary Hepperman's body, the murdered girl, is being sent through college by R.B. Stanley, the grandfather of the murdered girl?
Yes, Mike Clancy, my true and trusted partner. That's true.
Well, Mr. Lost, tracer of keen persons, sir, I guess that brings the case of the murdered girl, Mary Hepperman, to a close.
Yes, it does, Michael Clancy. And now, I suggest it's time to open a new case.
All right, Mr. Lost, sir.
And so the kindly old investigator brings to a close another of his missing cases. Tune in next time for Mr. Lost, tracer of keen persons. Well, that wraps up another edition of the Golden Days of Radio. I hope you've enjoyed the past half hour. And here's a thought to remember. All military personnel are encouraged to use their authorized leave to the maximum extent possible. Railroads, air, and bus lines offer reduced fares for military leave travel. But make sure you know in advance all the requirements and necessary forms or papers to obtain both your leave and the reduced travel rates. This is Frank Brzee in Hollywood, California, inviting you to join me next time for more great moments from radio programs of the past.